What were the signals that led you to your diagnosis? Tell us about your journey.
Well, the signal that led to my diagnosis was very direct and straightforward. It was one morning that I think it was a Saturday. I was sweeping the rug that provided comfort to our feet while we sat on the sofa. And I know I went down not feeling any pain, but I rose up feeling a sharp pain within my left breast. And thereafter, I, did my own examinations and stuff, and I felt this excruciating pain. Kind of felt to me like there was somewhat of a lump.
Reverend Dr. Claudia Jones was raised in Kendall, Jamaica. That stretch of singing cane breeze and swaying mango trees, where mountains and rivers shaped a community grounded in discipline and godliness. Her artistry stretched from voice to hands, sewing, crocheting, performing, braiding hair, cooking, creative expressions that foreshadowed the wide path ahead. In the United States, Reverend Dr. Claudia Jones became a certified and trained chaplain, an ordained and licensed minister of religion, and earned a Doctor of Ministry honorary. She is an etiquette consultant, a health and wellness coach, a published author, an actress, and a marketing agent for television and radio commercials. She is also a luxury chef, food stylist, spice line creator, and interior designer. Dr. Jones was unfortunately given 3 months to live after a stage 4 diagnosis of ovarian cancer. But with hope, faith, and works through God, she is still alive more than a decade after. But the question is,
You were given 3 months to live. Take us
Yes,
on that journey.
they deemed it the end stage because it was stage 4 discovery, or you would say diagnosis. So, with me not taking the chemotherapy, which I was strongly deciding against, and
You
knew
didn't
that
take chemo, none at all.
not at all,
Not even radiotherapy.
nothing.
But the doctor would say you can't survive without it.
They told me that.
how did she cure her cancer without conventional treatment?
Claudia, welcome to the Ivy Cancer Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's indeed a pleasure.
Nice. We have a tradition where we normally say a word of prayer to begin our podcast. And I would normally give my guest the honor to say that word of prayer. If not, I would go ahead. Do you mind praying for us?
Father, we thank thee for one more day. We thank thee for one more podcast session. On that, Lord, we invite you to come into our midst today to speak through our minds and think through our vocal cords, all of you and none of us. Let this podcast information go forth unhindered, uninterrupted by any satanic or demonic forces. Spirit of God, have your own way as you flow through this interview session. Let everything we say or do be an untimely word for the people in a time of need. We declare that your presence and your Holy Spirit will take over and flow in our midst as we go through this podcast. We thank you for its success, even now. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen and amen.
This podcast, as I said earlier on, is the foundation of cancer. And you are a cancer survivor. And this podcast has been in the pipeline for some time, and I'm grateful that God has granted us this opportunity now so that we can speak about your story. And one of the questions that's burning inside my heart is, what were the signals that led you to your diagnosis? Tell us about your journey.
Well, the signal that led to my diagnosis was very direct and straightforward. It was one morning that I think it was a Saturday. I was sweeping the rug that provided comfort to our feet while we sat on the sofa. And I know I went down not feeling any pain, But I rose up feeling a sharp pain within my left breast. And thereafter, I, did my own examinations and stuff, and I felt this excruciating pain. Kind of felt to me like there was somewhat of a lump thereabout, but I knew that it was something that sparked my attention that made me wanted to know more as to why I would have been having such excruciating pain in an instant. So I remember my father was living with me at the time, and I cared for him, and he had a personal doctor. So fortunate enough for me, that same night, that same evening, his doctor was expected to come pay my father a visit. And I called him right away on the phone, and I told him what I was experiencing, just so he could have been prepared for me in addition to seeing after my father, given that it wasn't at his office location. And he came that night after examining my dad. He did an examination of the area for me and run a few tests here and there that he could have done on the spot. And it was about, say, it was a Thursday after, so let's say about 5 days later, that I did some tests, and that was when we spoke on the phone, and he said I needed to come to the office right away because of the results that he had gotten back from my biopsy and stuff like that. To, I guess he wanted me to come in to speak on the kind of cancer in terms of the level of saturation based on the results and all of that, and what exactly, how was he to break this news to me and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so that's where it all started, and it progressed from there in terms of what the next move was and all of that. So to answer that initial question, yeah, I hope that helps.
So when he called you, when he examined you, and you got that call, because oftentimes people would normally be wondering, anxious, up until the time leading to, that call. When you got that call and it was your doctor, what was running through your mind at the time?
Well, to be honest with you, remember both calls were on my end. So when I felt that strange feeling and the pain, I was the one that reached out because he was to come there the same evening.
Right.
Now, while I awaited the results, I also was the one that reached out because on day 5, which was a Thursday, I think, yeah, I started to see rich red blood flowing from my left nipple.
Right.
So I needed to talk to him. So I called him right away. And that was when he said he was about to call me. So in other words, my call hit him just before he got to the office to have the secretary make that call to me, actually. So because I had called him, he just spoke with me on the phone then and there to say, hey, I need to come into the office, all of that and stuff like that. And then when I went to the office, and he was like, ASAP, as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went to the office was when the news was being given to me. And to be honest with you, that was never even a part of my thought process. Like, I wasn't even thinking along the line of cancer at all.
Mm-hmm. Were your nipples inverted?
Say that again?
Were your nipple, was it inverted?
No, it wasn't.
It was just letting out fluid.
Right.
Okay. When you got that diagnosis, was it early or was it late?
It was already late because when the diagnosis came, it was stage 4. So it was really at the last stage when the diagnosis came.
So when they call you and to discuss your result, what are some of the stuff that you discuss with your doctor in that office?
That's a ambiguous question. Could you narrow that down just a little bit for me? Give me a few more specifics.
So when you went to the doctor, did he told you at that present moment that you had cancer?
He told me at the end of the conversation. Here is how it started out. I believe he was very gentle on the information.
Right.
Also, given that I was alone, given the fact that I was alone, perhaps that could have been,
Right.
the reason. But initially, he kept saying that my cancer cells were active.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, hearing that my cancer cells are active, or for anyone for that matter, it wouldn't have sparked a concern, really and truly, to me. So he kept saying my cancer cells were active, and what it means is that I'm going to need to get some treatment to have them normalized if they can, or to get them stabilized and stuff like that. And he started to go deeper into the result from the biopsy and stuff like that. So it was really in the end of the conversation when we were doing, he was making sure that I knew that I was to come back within a couple of days, was when he said, this is stage 4 cancer.
What was the sound running through your head at that time? If I were a fly on the wall, what would I have seen?
You would have seen despondency. You would have seen someone who is sombered by news that grips them in a way where they feel as if the rug of life has been pulled without their permission from under their feet.
Mm-hmm.
You would have seen someone who, on an instant, sees life flashing before her, thinking on in that very moment, what exactly is this that I am hearing? So many thoughts flooding my mind, flowing at the time. There were so many to mention now, but not that there are ones that I can't recall. But what really drowned those thoughts out was the exact instant that this life-changing information is reaching to me. And I'm sure that, hey, I'm at a place now where I'm saying, am I hearing correct? What in God's heaven is this that is happening?
Mm-hmm. What kind of cancer did you have?
It was cancer of the ovaries.
Was cancer of the ovaries?
Yes, so it was ovarian cancer.
So for those who do not understand, because some people might have been confused because early on you mentioned about your breast was spewing liquid and stuff, and some people would assign that to breast cancer, but you had ovarian cancer. Can you expand on that a little bit for us?
Sure. So with ovarian cancer, a lot of persons might not know, but with ovarian cancer, there is a correlation to breast cancer. For some reason, they tend to, I don't want to say go hand in hand, but it's all most like how the cells align themselves.
Right.
And for me, simply what was happening, though it was ovarian,
Mm-hmm.
there was a manifestation taking place through one of my breasts, which happened to be the left at the time. And all it was just an outlet, because now the level of saturation that was taking place in my body, it's almost, I don't want to say it was a spread, but it was just a channel that the cells chose to go through. And that was really what indicated that something was wrong. It was really the sign factor. So it just happened to be one of the channel that some of the symptoms diverted to. When in fact it was not of the breast but the ovary. However, there oftentimes are a link between both.
Yeah, because when I was doing the research after I lost my mom, I was doing some research about her type of cancer that she had. And what I come across and the research is that people with breast cancer are more at higher risk of developing ovarian cancer, and it is vice versa. And it
Yes.
also said that male with their mother that had breast cancer are also at higher risk of developing prostate cancer.
It.
So I
Yes.
can see the
Absolutely.
correlation right there. Um, so what about when you found out that you had cancer, what kind of treatment did the doctor opt for you to do?
To be honest with you, they wanted me to go with conventional medicine,
Right,
whatever there is that the medical professions would use to treat cancer.
right.
And also, you know that chemotherapy would have been a strong recommendation. For me, it was, given the fact to, based on the stage that it was in, it was stage 4, with limited time frame and stuff working with. So that was highly recommended. However, so the doctor who gave the diagnosis,
Mhm.
he also works with the university. hospital there in Kingston, Jamaica. And so when I went there as well for a second checkup, for a second opinion, they strongly spoke on the conventional medicine and all of that. But the personal doctor that my dad had caring for him at the time, who did my diagnosis and stuff, he 100% recommended that I go the natural route.
Mhm.
And I kind of adhered to his recommendations there
Why?
and then.
Why?
Other than, say that again.
Why did you adhere to his recommendation?
I did because by now he was our family practitioner or family doctor.
Okay.
And the level of confidence that I had in him,
Mhm.
given that I know he had our interests at heart.
Mhm.
So I figured if he also was a medical doctor and suggesting the natural medicine for this, it has to be not just a reason, but a very valid one. So I chose to take it his advice. Not only that, from a personal perspective, I find that herbs are here on the land as a healing of the nation, assigned
Genesis.
for use by God.
Genesis.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So those are two of the reasons I really opted to go with him and to give ear. And the more I divulged into what he was saying and did my research on whatever I was given as my alternative route to take, I developed such level of confidence that I really didn't want to go the conventional way to have them, so to speak, have me as a guinea pig.
Right.
And
Right.
then also, this is very important. This point I'm about to make is very important. I was like, okay, so stage 4. I mean, if I do, I'm damned. If I don't, I'm still damned. So what would I have to lose at this point?
Right.
You
So
know
you rather to be your own guinea pig, in other words.
exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Right. And let's put a disclaimer out there. We are not telling people what to do. You're just sharing your story.
And not just my story, but my success story.
Right. Definitely. Did you took supplement while you were going through your natural route? And what kind of supplement did you take, if you want to share with us?
Sure. So again, you have already placed a disclaimer out there, and I am placing my personal one. We are not intending in this podcast to treat or cure any kind of cancer.
Right.
Share my story.
Right.
And so, two of the main supplements I took on the journey that was very important to the healing process and was potent in its benefits were spirulina and chlorella. They
Okay.
were a vital part, yes, of my journey, and those were two of my main supplements. A third supplement I've always included when I share my story. It's like my story becomes a based, or it's naked without this one, is
Right.
that coconut oil. First press extra virgin coconut oil was it was a game changer for me. It has some of the main nutrient that is produced in mother's breast milk. And
Mhm.
so it's a very key thing for you to use when your cells are low, or the body, the immune system breaks down. And for me, that was a major player when it comes to supplements.
Okay. In a recent study, I've analyzed and I've come across that vitamin D deficiency play a lot of part in many diseases over the world. It is listed on Google, it's PubMed. It's a research that's actively out there. Were you, in your case, were you the vitamin D deficiency?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Why I know and I can answer affirmatively so is because I remember my doctor having a one-on conversation with me about that. Just before my list of nutrients were given and what all I needed to take, I would have had to do a consultancy with him. And so that was discussed in the consultation that we had, where because I was low in vitamin D, I also needed to make sure that my exercise period takes place when the sun is at a point where the UV rays at its strongest. So I would be out. I would not be allowed to do my exercise before, say, 10:30 a.m.
Mhm.
So between, say, 10:30 and 2 p.m. was when my doctor recommended for me to take that half an hour walk that I needed to, so that I can get the natural vitamin D because of how low I was and how deficient.
there's a little bit of conviction in my mind because on my research, they said the best time to get that UV is between 10 to 12, the earliest part of the day. But you mentioned that your doctor recommend that, it's between 12 and 2, in other words.
No, I 10:30 to 2.
10:30 and 2. So
Yes.
between so I stated 10 and 12. So it's basically the same thing then, I would say.
Yes, and also I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of the things my doctor had also recommended, he said to make sure that when I do my walks, I don't just do it, say, the half an hour at 10. Like, even though it's between 10:30 to 2, he made sure to inform me that once I create a balance in that lower end versus the higher end. So in other words, you wouldn't want me to just actually go at the strongest point, as in 10, or just at the lowest when it's fading at 132, but to create a balance in between. So one of the time, my favorite time frame used to be honest with you, like about 12:35, they're about in 105. So that way I get a little from the lower end and from the upper end, because all those had factors that played a role in the recovery process, and also the level of saturation from the vitamin D.
So you were on the natural way, natural path.
Yes.
Since the fact that you were on the natural path of your journey, um, do you look on food different from before you had cancer?
Absolutely, I do. The reason I look at food differently is I don't want to jump the gun with you, but remember I was given a certain time frame. For me, I looked at food differently because look at this, Brian. It's such a terminal illness, but quote unquote, I need chemotherapy, correct?
Right.
And the doctors gave me a certain time frame, which I won't, as I said, push on that. When you get to that point, we will discuss it. And I am looking at the only solution that they're giving to me. And to see me really reversing a terminal illness, of course, God is the ultimate.
Amen.
But I know that he didn't just sit in heaven and did a drum roll. We all know that.
Right.
So he had put persons in place to educate, because I'm in the flesh. And
Right.
this needed to be dealt with in the flesh and not the spirit.
Right.
So he absolutely does his part in the spirit, always, him being God of my life, God that is the center of all my affairs. But what he did, he made provisions in a natural way. And when I looked at it, I'm like, wow, in less than 2 years, food has the ability to eradicate a terminal illness from my life.
Mm.
So there is no way I would have looked at food or grain against my bite the same way I did before having to deal with that sickness. So I'm big on food. Like, you've just opened a can of fancy candies, because this ain't worms, right? Because food is life for me. So you've just
Yeah.
opened a can of that when you mentioned that. But let me answer and stop it there.
Yeah. So because we tease the viewers a little bit,
Yes.
right? And I don't like to keep them waiting. So we're going to ask you a question, because you were given 3 months to live. Take us
Yes.
on that journey.
Okay, so they gave me 3 months to live, saying that because the cancer had saturated the body then. So basically, as I told you earlier, they deemed it the end stage because it was stage 4 at discovery, or we would say diagnosis. So with me not taking the chemotherapy, which I was strongly deciding against, and knew
You didn't
that
take chemo, none at all.
not at all.
Not even radiotherapy.
Nothing.
But the doctor would say you can't survive without it.
They told me that. The matron actually advised me, and she was really at a place. She was really at a place of despondency, and like, to be honest with you, she was disappointed in me. She said it, that for someone like myself that has basic education enough to understand what it should be, though I'm not into the
So she
medical
lower your
field. She was,
standard.
say that again?
Lower your standard.
Yes. And that I should really be ashamed of myself that I am really processing the information that way and not taking it seriously. And I said to her, no, I am not going to take chemotherapy at all. And I remember when they gave me 3 months to live, my personal doctor said basically there is absolutely nothing they can do about it. It's just that I'm going to stay there, and like when the 3 month passes off, I can go before the 3 months or just a little over or exactly on the 3 month based on the level of saturation. And so he said to me what he would recommend I do is to go the natural route, but I have to deal with it aggressively, given that, conventional medicine somewhat suppresses some stuff or deals with it in a on contact. Then you would say, because you know that the natural stuff, they take a little longer
Mm-hmm.
to get seeped into your system and fully eradicate stuff. Yes. And so he placed me on guinea hen weed and vervine.
Right.
I remember what that journey was like. So just a day in my life for those 3 months quickly. On a morning when I get up, my routine would be to I did this before, and I never this here is information that someone might make do with. I usually get up in the mornings and just rush go and I brush my teeth. I don't do that anymore
Mm-hmm.
because I
But
learned the importance of my saliva then, the importance of certain things.
come on, don't keep it from us. Give it to
Yeah,
us,
the
because
importance of certain kind of bacteria that I ward off when I do that. The importance of how my lymphatic system rejoices when I don't just on an instant clear my mouth when I wake up from its natural properties of vitamins.
oh,
And so that was one of the key thing that I learned that baffled me for like years.
just
And
buffet
so when
you.
I wake up for my morning's routine, one would want to hear, oh, so she didn't brush her teeth. No, I did not. Proudly so,
Right.
because of the benefits that I would get from that. And then I went straight into my first meal of the morning, and that would have been my morning detox. So now remember, I'm answering the question you asked to
Mm-hmm.
tell you about that given 3 months to live
Right.
journey, how I dealt with it. Right.
Right.
So I started off with it's a whole orange. It's some wild, so please bear with me. It's a whole orange, and we would just take the peel from it. And so we peel the orange, and that white part supposed to be left, and we remove the seeds. Then nothing else is removed, and I would slice that into small cubes.
So,
And I
so the white part is a bit of the flesh, right?
yes,
Right.
so it's just the skin that has the rind on it we're taking off
Right. So
and taking
you
the
get rid of the rinds.
right
Right.
and plucking the seeds from
Right.
after you cut, and then you put it into cubes.
Right.
Then to that I would add maybe an 8 ounce glass of coconut water
Mm-hmm.
and at 3 inches of aloe vera, maybe this much from where yeah both hands are, maybe this much. And then I would take that sharp prick from the edges and slice it as well. So I add it to the water and the orange slices that I have in the blender, and you blend that into a cream, and it's almost like it's kind of thick, and that's what I would drink for
So
my
that's
morning's
that's
detox.
alkaline.
Yes, all alkaline.
I can remember in reverse to that. Um, but because I used to see my cousin's baby father make that for her on a regular, just a regular, it's like a detox, as you said,
Yes, it
on
is.
a regular in my youthful days. But what he used to do, he used to put egg white in it.
Yes.
I don't know why. Is that's just the separate that's the separate ingredient from what you just stated.
Because that's for protein. I
Right,
believe they did that for protein. A lot of persons they do that.
right.
But in my case, the the egg itself represented, I don't want to say protein, it's in a flesh form, but
Mhm,
my diet was so alkalized
mhm.
that even that was prohibited.
So
I wasn't able to have eggs at all.
so that was your first meal.
Right. So that
And
would
what
have been,
time
and
you
that's a
take,
detox.
around what time you take that?
And like first thing in the morning when I get up, even if I wake late for what someone would have considered way past sunrise,
Mhm.
as long as it's done as the first meal, because
Right.
the aim is to prepare the body
The
for
body.
what is to come for the
Right.
rest of the day. So
Right.
it's a cleanser, but a barrier to preserve my immune system from what I'm gonna take in if there's anything that will break my nutritional walls down.
Ah.
Right. And to also enhance whatever else natural or alkalized that's going to come into the body. So I would take that first thing in the morning. And then afterwards, it's very important to not eat until about an hour and a half to 2 hours later.
Why is that?
Right. Because that needs to saturate my system, my immune system. That was the explanation from my doctor. And I saw where it made sense.
Mm.
But I was never in starvation mode because I would always have a balanced meal based on given the fact that I was on such a rigid and a strict diet, and these are all live food, what you call live food. They're alive.
What was a balanced diet for you at that time?
All right. So after I have that cleanse, I would go straight into my oatmeal for the morning. And this is steel cut oatmeal. Because I don't know if you know, but all other oatmeal is processed if it's not
Right.
steel cut. Steel cut is the first
Original.
production from
Right.
oat. Yes.
Right.
And so I
It's a
would soak that.
it's a bit thicker for the
Yes,
people
and
that do not
it's
know.
it looks like a steel the way it's shaped. It's a round, thin
Right.
steel cut. Yeah, it's
Like
very hard.
I don't know if you remember rabbit food.
Yes, it looks exactly like rabbit
Yeah.
meal. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
So I would soak that into coconut milk overnight. And you don't have to do it overnight, just for a few hours as well. You could do that. But I'm just going in depth for the interest of someone that might be watching and this is beneficial to them.
Right.
So you soak that for anywhere between 2 to 4 hours or so. I used to do mine overnight and it gets it at a real nice texture that I like. And it's nice on the bite and the chew was really nice at that time. So I would have the steel cut oatmeal. I would slice blueberries, blackberries, strawberry, whatever berries, because those were really good for me at that time in the fight. And I use dates. I would use dates as my sweetener,
Right.
right, into it, or a small piece of banana or so on. I just had, and I had coconut milk was what I used for all my cereals and everything. I wasn't allowed to eat or consume any other milk, only coconut milk in its purest form. So I couldn't buy it off the supermarket shelf or anything like that. We would have to break the coconut. So that nut, when we break it, we get the milk from it. And the very coconut, I would get my custard from, that creamy goodness that comes
Inside.
just before it forms the oil for you. So
Right.
there's 3 stages that coconut would take on at my house in my home space at that time for me, and all of it was for consumption. It was really good. So I would have my oatmeal, and that would be my first meal outside of my detox for the day. Then
Before
I
you
would get,
before you go on, Claude, I want to understand why weren't you allowed to drink milk?
because of the mucus that it forms, and it would saturate the body and pollute the system. Because now,
I want to get that.
yes,
Yeah.
did you hear that, or you need me to
Yeah,
repeat?
no, because I want people to understand the
Yes,
importance of avoiding milk. Because what I've learned is that milk is a mucus forming food.
it
You
is.
don't want to have mucus. The idea is to eliminate mucus from your body. So you
Right.
want to eliminate what is forming mucus inside your body. So that's why I asked, because I wanted you to get that part out so that people could understand why you weren't allowed to drink.
Sure.
Right.
Okay, because yes, it is mucus forming, and one of the important steps that needs to be taken that most persons overlook, and they say natural remedies don't work, is the fact that we tend to clog our system with medication and think that if we don't prepare the body, it will receive it.
Right.
The two doesn't stand. Think about you trying to put a glass of, let's say, a bottle of water. You're trying to pour that in a cup that has a lot of mucus in it and just dirty on a whole. black pepper grains, sugar, coffee, all kinds of stuff in it. It's going to take on the formation and the color of what's already in the cup, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Because water represents that which is pure.
Pure.
It's the same thing with the natural medication and stuff, or the fruits and the food and herbs. We cannot put that into our bodies and still have not cleansed the body before we put
Makes
this or introduce it to the body.
makes sense.
So that detox every morning not just only served as a routine, but it was doing its part with its evident cleanse, because
Mhm.
I would have regular bowel movements as well, eliminating from my body what is promoting the cancer cells. Because remember, we're starting a program or a process to eliminate these cells. So
Right.
it was important for me to just do natural stuff and cleaning my system in the same breath.
I've interviewed a nutritionist, Max Nutrition, and he said the same thing. He had sickle cell, and what he
Mhm.
recommend, you have to eliminate before you put in, and that's the approach you took on
Yeah.
your journey. So tell us about your next meal. What would you have in the evening?
So my next meal, and I'm always excited about this because this is when this is when I get to do all the beans and legumes. And you should see me like I'm this veteran, when you want to live, you want to live. So listen, you are going to go above and beyond. So my next meal would consist of beans and legumes and stuff, because that amount of protein, I needed that. I needed muscle mass for the fight as well. That
Right.
I didn't know. Yeah, I needed that so that I can put up strong resistance against the cells.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would do like lima beans, black beans. They're one of the most nutritional property, that nutritional bean, I'm sorry, that you can get from that family beans when it comes to beans and peas. And I loved black beans. So I used to do black bean, red peas, gungo, all the beans you name it, chickpeas, all of that. And most of the times I have my variety, because at the time I was already a chef. But I used to have my variety of beans and stuff, and that a coconut milk was so, like, it was such a staple. So I would saute that in the red onions and the purple onion, the white onions, the yellow onion, all different types of onion, one family. And then I would just do a blend of herbs like the rosemary, because at this point I can't just have the rosemary sprig. This is key. So let's hear this part. I couldn't just have the sprigs of the herbs and then remove them from my dish. What was required of me is that I blend them into a paste, so
Right.
that it becomes a part of the meal. So it gets into my system. And so I would blend the onion, the rosemary, garlic, even the scotch bonnet pepper, just a little piece for flavor. And I would blend all these in the coconut milk, and I would have that as an idle stew with my beans
Mm-hmm.
for dinner. And then I had what you call black rice. And apart from the black rice, I would alternate with quinoa, or I would do black rice, quinoa, or purple rice.
Mm-hmm.
And those are natural whole wheat grains that are very nutritious and beneficial to the system. And one of the main things that they did for me, they kept me full
Yeah.
for a considerable amount of time,
Right.
because of all what I had to take in for the day. So that was like an ideal meal in terms of my dinner time meal. And then after I had those, some days, so the beans would do for one, and then I wasn't allowed to do meat and fish or none of that stuff. So on any given day would be my beans, or I would do cruciferous vegetables. And the cruciferous vegetables are vegetables such as broccoli, cauliflower, and what else comes under that? Brussels sprouts. Yes, those are cruciferous vegetables, has a kind of texture and stuff. And they have great nutritional benefits too, that kills cancer cells on contact. So I would have those to eat. I would also do the jackfruit meat itself.
Right.
From the green jackfruit, I put jerk seasoning on it, and I would have my just sauteed jackfruit pieces and stuff, and soursop pieces as well.
Yeah,
So
I've seen that recently.
yes, the green
Someone was
soursop.
escabeaching
Yes, I would chop those, and I have it battered with the cauliflower. We would blend that out in the same coconut milk. We would blend the cauliflower out, and it would give me that kind of cheesy texture. And we would use that as a batter for the green soursop, and we put them into wedges and fry that and have that as protein and stuff with the same rice. Or a lot of fresh salads was incorporated in my day too. So that would be my hot meal, and I would only be permitted to one hot meal per day. The
Oh,
reason for that is the cooked meal, it kind of breaks stuff
yeah,
down, the
right,
nutritional value and stuff
right.
kind of grabs the ear. And also it puts more pressure on the enzyme, on the system that breaks the enzymes down into the body. So
Mm-hmm.
the raw and natural food, that's how we were created to consume. So
Mm-hmm.
it's always lighter that way. And then given that that was a terminal illness I was fighting, my lymphatic system was on the more delicate part.
Right,
So my entire diet was framed to facilitate everything that can and could be affected by the disease. So after my full dinner, I would have had a salad. And my salad would be anything I can grab and go with. So spinach was big on my salad, kale. And I would soak the kale so that it's not rough against my system either.
that's what I
Soak
heard.
that in water for about an hour and a half, pull it from
Right,
that. There was no cheese included in my salad. So cucumber, tomatoes, the corn on the cob. So I would take them off and I would have the raw corn from the cob, and pull that into my salad, and I would make like a balsamic vinaigrette and so on it with the natural honey. I would
right,
do it with that, yes, and the balsamic vinegar. I didn't include water to it, and my water would have been pure alkaline water. If I never had that from PriceSmart, I would grab my bottle of spring water. No juices were allowed. It's just the natural cane juice that would bring the sugar level up when I needed it for my body, because we need a little of everything to balance us out.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was it. And then in the nighttime, very minimal amount of fruits if I do take them, because my green juice would have already included my celery, my green bell peppers. I'd have like a half of avocado. That omega-3 fatty goodness was good for me, given that I wasn't getting that from protein or the salmon. Because at that time I couldn't have salmon, even though it was good, because of the stage that I was at.
Right,
And so everything had to be virgin and alkalized. So I would really do those kind of stuff in the green juice. I would do like a piece of banana. If I do the banana one day, the other day I'll do like a half a Granny Smith apple, but I couldn't do more than one fruit,
right.
because you needed to have more vegetable than fruits for that, because
Because of the
again,
sugar
you're
content.
cleansing your body, you're not trying to eat fancy. And I would
Right.
blend that out with coconut water, and I'd have at least 7 glasses of green juice every day. And yes, you heard me right. Yeah.
Seven
No,
glass.
I'm sorry, not the green juice. No, 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 no. 2 glasses of green juice, but at least 7 glasses of my detox juice. This is the one I never told you about. I skipped that. So this is made in large portion. This was made in large portion by my doctor, where it was the guinea hen weed and the vervine, because it's important to know how to blend herbs, because you can damage your organs.
Right.
Right. So they had this prepared for me, and I would get them by the gallon and put it in the refrigerator. So it's a guinea hen weed and a vervine. And pretty much that. The soursop was not allowed to be included, because it would kill those nutritional properties from those two, because they go against each other. So,
Ah,
right. So the soursop was meant to be had at nighttime, the soursop juice.
separate.
Yes, separate the leaf itself, the juice from the leaf. Yes, so like water, I would have had that, but it was important in the first 6 weeks that I had 7 glasses of the guinea hen weed and vervine. But I would have to take it 6 days on and 3 days off.
Right. So you have to give it a break.
Right. So every 6 days, you have to take 3 days off from doing it, though that was what was helping to heal the body and to kill
Right.
those cells. So
Right.
that was kind of what my day looked like. More like the natural herbs and so, but the main meal, as I told you, was the beans or the cruciferous stuff, and that is it. And I would snack, but my snack would be like natural fruit, or again, that taste bad medication and stuff like that. It wasn't fancy. And I could have like natural almonds, peanut, no, not peanut, almonds, cashew, walnuts, and those. But I wasn't allowed to take peanut, because peanut what is contaminated and can can contaminate the body because it prowns to have salmonella that I
Right.
even didn't know.
And
Yeah.
it grow fungus as well.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And it was later I learned about the fungus. I didn't even know at that time.
Right. Because
Right.
I love peanuts,
Yes,
especially roasted nuts.
I
I love
do too, but I don't eat it
but
no
since
more.
I found out that it grow fungus, I was like, nah,
Mm-mm. Yeah,
I stopped taking it.
yeah.
Yeah, but y- you take your car to the car wash and you clean the inside, but you would never leave the car wash without the outside being clean. So you give us the inside remedy that you use to clean the inside. What was your skin? Because as they said, the skin is the biggest organ on your
Organ.
body.
Yeah.
So what you done for your skin as a skin routine?
For my skin, when I take my shower daily, and this is something that I anticipated and looked forward to. So I would use the natural hemp. I would use the natural hemp oil. Sometimes I use the coconut oil itself. Sugar played a vital role with my body that I use to cleanse, and the sodium bicarbonate,
Mhm,
which is the baking soda.
mhm.
I use that a lot because they when I so let me go a step back. You have to bear with me. I kind of get excited when I speak about natural aids and stuff.
That's
So,
fine, man.
all right, so let me try to slow down. Let me try to
Yeah.
calm down. So, first off, I take my shower with my hemp wash and stuff like that. Doctor, what's his name again? Oh my God,
I think
Doctor.
I think I have that same. I think I have
We
that
have
same.
that. What is it
I
called?
think I have a same that same body wash right now.
Yes, it's
I'm
Doctor
using it. And
something something. But for
yeah,
those of you that was watching, that
it's a
Doctor something
it's a
something
green bottle.
wash. Yes,
It's a green and white bottle.
exactly. So you know what I'm talking about. I might remember before this interview is ended, but I use that as my body wash.
Yeah.
And after I'm done, I go in with a scrub.
Right.
And this is made from sugar, some coffee beans and stuff, and the sodium bicarbonate played a rich role in that, as well as coconut oil as the binding property against that sodium bicarbonate.
Right.
And one of the things I learned from my doctor that was going to do was going to cleanse the pore, and not just cleanse them, but to moisturize and nurture the pores as I scrub daily with them, because the skin, being an organ, is also affected by these cancer cells.
Mhm,
And so I would do the scrub, and then the finishing product that I go in with used to be my coconut oil.
mhm,
So the coconut oil, I use that as the moisturizing agent for my body. Some other stuff I use, but I remember that those were the key stuff that I used at the time. And I know that I was not allowed to use deodorant because of the paraffins and the dyes and all of that kind of stuff. So I was given the opportunity to make my own deodorant, where I use the juice of one whole lemon, a few tablespoons of coconut oil. You could use about three or so with that, some sodium bicarbonate, and a little cornstarch, and you kind of play around with the ingredients to get the consistency that you so desire. And you place it in a container of your choice. You can refrigerate that, and you have that to use up to say about 6 months. And so that's what I use as a source of deodorant for that period. And to today's date, I still do not use deodorant, and I don't have an odor either.
mhm.
So that goes to show you how potent those items were, because that's been over 13 years and I have not gone back to using deodorant. So that's what I used for the skin treatment. And also a key thing and a
Mhm.
key lesson that I learned, I needed to take cold water baths for my face each morning. That ice water shock for my system, when I tell you,
That
like
cold water.
brain fog was never present.
That
It's
cold
it,
water, man.
that cold water.
I love it.
It was everything. Listen,
My daughter is like, because she know I do it, but she don't like it.
yes. And I used to
It good?
sit. Yeah, it's very good. I used to
Good.
sit in the tub when into that sodium bicarbonate and let that seep through the walls of my skin. And when I tell you that is a game changer, it was. So yes, those are the basic stuff that I did. And for my clothes, I could not use any detergent whatsoever. Even the ones in the supermarkets that were sold and it has no dye in it or all of that kind of stuff, I was told not to use them. So again, the sodium bicarbonate and Himalayan salt was what I used for my laundry because and
Really?
yeah, because I would sweat. So once you sweat, you're gonna pull whatever is on your outfit, your clothing on
Yeah.
you, right? So
Right.
that's why we try to avoid the dyes. So the pink Himalayan salt rock, it is so important that we include that into our diet. So it prevents dehydration at a great level. It hydrates the skin, the body. It's so good for the pupil or the eyes. The skin, it makes it plush and radiant. We just spark with an uncommon glow. It's really, really great. And that was included in doing my laundry. So I had to go all natural from the inside out.
Claudia, you beat the odds. They gave
Yeah.
you 3 months to live, and over 13 years after, you're still striving.
Yes, to God be the glory.
What was the sound like in your head when you heard that you are now free from cancer?
Ah, that sound. Ah, how would I describe that sound? Let me put it this way. That sound was like a child. And this is emotional for me. Yeah, this is emotional for me to break down. For me, that sound was like, when a child runs to a parent that has made them, let's take it all the way down to January. And we've just spoken about Christmas, what it was like, and the new year has passed. And so you ask daddy for a special gift for Christmas, but you have all of 10 more months to wait, or 11, depending on what date in the month you ask. And you trust your father. But this time it's not the old doll you're asking for Christmas. This time you kind of want a dollhouse compared to the doll. And also you want mommy and daddy to have food on the table for you to eat. You're taking it a notch up with daddy God. And you also want a new house for the family. You kind of asking a little too much for the average child that would ask for a gift. And you have all of Christmas to wait on the gift. But while you're waiting, the anticipation sparks doubt, confusion, worry, faith, all of that bottled within that one child's head. That was me. I was the child of a king who had gone into the inner courts of prayer on so many occasions to say, Daddy, this is what I want from you. Sometimes trusting, sometimes not, but knew that I had a certain level of faith, that if I held on to it, it wouldn't harm me because I was already at the bottom. And so my faith rose higher and brighter once there were indicators turned on where the healing started to take place, where I started to feel a little better here and there and stuff, but still didn't know what my daddy had in mind. If I was just gonna get the doll for Christmas, or mommy and dad would be taken care of in the natural realm, or the other siblings around. And so for me, I asked God, and I knew that He always answered my prayers, but I never knew how He was going to answer this one. And to know that it was 2 days after my birthday and it was the same anticipation, I said, Daddy, if you would just heal me and make me cancer free, not in remission, but cancer free, totally cancer free, on this birthday, I owe my life to you. I would know that this is for your glory. I'm doing it. I won't mess it up.
Mm.
But I still didn't know what my father was going to do. And so when I heard the words, Claudia, you're not in remission, because this is exactly how my doctor said it. He said, Claudia, you are not in remission. Understand that I'm being between two worlds right here, because a part of me wants to pull me to say, oh, shoot, the cancer cells came back stronger. So this is now the third time and this is going to defeat you. Or is this a success to And so I'm going to get a report. And then to hear him say, Claudia, you're not in remission, but you're totally cancer-free. In that moment, I can pull you right back to the place where and how I felt. And I said, God, this was exactly what I was saying to God. I said, you have really given me grace. I said, God, you have really given me grace twice. And I remember on the third instance, I said, and I don't even deserve a fraction of this. Remember, we're not talking about the flu. We're not talking about chickenpox, measles. We are talking about the terminal illness, cancer.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the end stage, stage 4.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I don't know, I believe that every spirit of humility joined in concert and overdosed me with humility. From that instance, it's as if my thought pattern towards how I thought about every moment I took a breath was rewired by that report. And it has never left me the feeling of gratitude towards a God who never had to show up for me in that way. He owes me nothing.
Still in the healing business, man.
Yes. And so my life now is wired around purpose, God's glory that must be made manifest in every breath that I take. Be it a regular day, I'm having a meal, a cup of tea I'm sipping, I'm standing on a platform preaching the gospel, I'm having a health and wellness coaching session, I'm doing etiquette consultant, anything, every single thing is wired around the gratitude given a second chance to live.
Is there anything in your life now that you wish you knew before cancer?
Sure.
What's that?
Boundaries. Yes. And what I mean by boundaries, and there's a big correlation with boundaries and the cancer journey that I've walked on. I believe as an individual, I often live my life where too many times I set myself on fire to keep others warm. And that in itself, I recognized later down in the fight that put a major tug on my body, because we can be diagnosed with all sorts of sickness and disease. But stress, there's no match for stress. No matter how organized you think your life is, if you are stressed, it can deplete you before you even get a diagnosis or before you start meds on any diagnosis you've had and you want to treat for any sickness. Wow. And so for me, I believe that I had run myself to a place where I became a vehicle through which other people flow or was transported to different points unto their destination, wherever they wanted to reach. And I didn't give of myself enough. So I didn't have boundaries where I learned the word no and to say it gracefully like I do now. Mm-hmm. And so that put me in a bad position where I needed a resource. I never had any because I was the source of life for many others. And so they would not be able to have what I need to plug into me, even if they were willing. But besides that, most parties were not willing. And I came to a sad realization that, hey, you have given so much and your cup is almost empty. And if you get through this, you have to be rewired. And the one word that will take you through is boundary. So you have to put those in place. So yes, that's what I would have done differently. And I believe that would have charted my path to a different place.
You have written a book, From Cancer to Free.
To Cure.
To Cure. Can you tell us about that book and what you expect the readers to get from that book?
So that book encapsulates the journey. How it was just a normal life, a regular day, an ordinary day. No one sent me a memo or notified me that, hey, this terminal illness is going to knock at your door. And so I was not prepared. I never got a manual on how to deal with it and how to navigate my way through. I honestly had to, against all odds, just try to plug into whatever was provided for me, which is the natural medication and stuff, because again, I was a guinea pig for my own self, just trying this stuff, never knew if it would have worked. And again, plug myself into all the healing scriptures I know existed in the Bible, because God has always been my source of existence. And so I marry the spiritual with the natural. And for all that I have come in contact with during the journey, the stench, because the journey had its parts. And for me, I wanted persons to know that it was just not, it's not a glit and a glamour street where, oh, I was diagnosed today and then I got some natural herbs and medicine to take and tomorrow it was okay. No, it was not. The fight lasted somewhat a little under 2 years. And for me, for the fight, it was denial, then acceptance, then embracing, then the fight for the journey, changing of the diet, you know, win today, lose tomorrow, getting back on my feet again, that kind of stuff. And going through the battle and everything, not knowing what tomorrow brings, but having to get into a mental place where I compartmentalize the fight and take it one step at a time, because I never had a manual. And so facing and smelling the stench of the sickness, where there were days where I had to block my own nose from my own body, the scent that was protruding through the pores because of all the medication that I had to take. So there was mess along the journey that came with along the path to healing, or the road to healing. And so for me experiencing that, I knew that it wasn't going to be just a one-off testimony from my lips. I want for ages to come, whether I am still here or gone home to be with the Lord, that my voice still rings through the pages. And so I felt like I had a responsibility to document the intensity of the fight, the adrenaline rush moments, the victory reports, the point of desperation, and the place where hope comes alive again. Everything, just the complexity of the journey. I owed that to myself to bring that awareness to others. And so that's how the book came about. And that I want my fight to be documented, not just on pages, but in the minds, the ears, the eyes, and the heart of those that will have this disease to combat or to fight against one day. So that was why I documented this, because there were times when the cancer cells came back, they were fighting stronger and harder, and we had to mobilize a plan. We had to have a plan and mobilize it so that we can fight in a different way. Sometimes you're fighting stuff, it's not just the one plan that you have written down. Sometimes you have to divert when it hits you in a harder way. So that was important for me to document all the stages and to see how the story twisted, that I am back from that place of cancer to cure. And the second part of the question you asked, what do I want others to take from it? My keynote for the journey is that I want others to become a version of their best self no matter what they fight. Strive to become the version of your best self. You will see within the pages of my book that I fought to become a better version of myself. When you give the fight of life your all, and you do it at a pace where you trust yourself in the process, that you will not give up on you, whatever the result or the outcome is, it's going to make you a winner. Why? Because you have given it your all. You stood up for yourself. So there's no way you will stand up for yourself in a fight against cancer, diabetes, stress, strain, a relationship, havoc, chaos, whatever it be, and you've given it your all and tell yourself that you're a loser. You are your biggest and most important project that you will ever work on in this lifetime. And so I had to create a mental kingdom where the walls were guarded from the willpower and the hope that I will live, for wanting to live, wanting to do this. And that was what brought me, with the help of God, to this part of the journey where I can sit and share the story. So that's what I want readers to take from it, that whatever their fight is, it may not be of that magnitude, it may be of a smaller scale they may think. Once a fight, it is a fight. You owe that to yourself, to work on you being your biggest project and to be satisfied at the end of working on you. So that's what I want them to take from it. We have today So in everything we do, we have to dance a little longer, laugh a little longer, let the laugh be so loud, hold a little tighter, all of that kind of stuff. Just make every moment count. That's what I did. And that's what brought me, by the grace of God, from cancer to cure.
That's powerful. You are not just an author. You are a chef.
Yes.
And you are a lifestyle health and wellness coach.
Yes.
Can you help us to understand why you took on so much important role and what is it entails in your daily chef lifestyle, and what it entails in your lifestyle, your health and wellness coaching?
Okay. So you asked the question, very good questions. I'm glad you asked. So you asked the question, what made me took on the role of a lifestyle health and wellness coach. In particular, when I fought cancer, I realized that I had minimal resources in terms of support system. And for me, I have the inner strength, the tenacity, the drive, the willpower to strive and to move forward, regardless of what obstacles may come in my way. For many persons, they're not wired like that. And so the inability to be consistent with their fight takes them over. And most of the times they fall prey to these terminal illnesses or diseases. I didn't want that for others, what I found myself in, because remember, my strength through God was what pulled me through. What about the persons that's not wired the way I am? What about persons who need others to be plugged into so that they can be recharged and refueled? So that's how the thought of becoming a lifetime health and wellness coach came about. And I got myself prepared and qualified. And what better way to be qualified for something of this nature other than being experienced? And I've had the experiences, so I can identify with people that has a need for support and the
Right.
drive, the will to go on. And that's what made me took that on. Effortlessly, I flow with helping others to regain their confidence and to find purpose and hope into each moment that they feel like they're drowning because
Right.
of my story of success. So that had made it easier for me. Hence, the journey being taken on to becoming that health and wellness coach. And I'm satisfied each time I see or I hear someone winning. Even on my TikTok page, when I hear these comments or I see these comments of persons that say, "Hey, Dr. Claudia, you give me hope, of surviving this and that." It makes me feel amazing knowing that when I needed the strength from others, they were hardly there. It was just my kids and a few others and all of that, they were hardly there. So I wanted to make provision for others who might be in need while they go through the fight. Then for part two, you asked as well about the chef. That's my baby. Being a chef, that's my baby. You sure you want me to answer that part before you elaborate on the first part that I just gave you an answer for? You can let me
Well,
know.
I want you to, of course, speak about your chef, because I've seen where that is a passion for you. So I
Yes.
want you to just, explain, expand on that for us a little bit.
Okay, sure. The chefing, I cannot speak about being a chef without being elated, as you would see. So you asked, so in regards to the question about me being a chef, taking on this hat for the journey, I was a chef before I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer of the ovaries. And in fact, I had a booming business that had just taken itself off the ground in Kingston, Jamaica at the time, and had to choose the business or my health. And so, from a hand of disappointment, I closed it down. And then, after I survived cancer, definitely it had pushed me into the area of food science and all that kind of stuff. I needed to do my own research on food, and because I seen the major role that food played on the survival journey, it was like bingo, I had hit the jackpot. So I started to do food science and to study on flavors, herbs, spices, their potencies, and how they play a role in healing when
Right.
it comes to different types of cancer. And so for me, It was right up my alley. And then my love for food, Brian, it got bigger. And it's almost as if I you couldn't contain me once it came to food. I just saw food in the way where I want to luxurize it, and I just wanted more on each bite, and it just made me into this knowledgeable chef thereafter, and I wanted to share my knowledge with the world. And
Right.
so now my food service umbrella, it's called Sophisticated Palate LLC, and we provide delectable gourmet but healthy meals. And one of the interesting things about my food service is that all the herbs and spices that I've used on the cancer survival journey, I have placed them into spices. So now I have a spice line with 9 different herbs and spices. If we had time, I would touch on that, but we have 9 different herbs and spices, and these have all the healing properties from the herbs and spices that I used to help me while I fought stage 4 cancer of the ovaries.
That's
And
goodness.
so, with knowing about the food in that magnificent way, and having such an experience with food, I decided that no, this is not knowledge this is not soul knowledge, but a knowledge that needs to go out there and pull others that are fighting in, so that they can squeeze the juice of healing from all these that we will present on a table when they talk about food. So yeah, it fits in nicely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You spoke about support system earlier, and I
Yes.
know that is a key role in your fight against any illnesses.
Yes.
And I can't close this podcast without highlighting the king. So I want you to tell us, what was your support system like, and how does it help in your recovery process?
Okay, so you mentioned that you don't want to close the podcast without bigging up my king then,
Yes.
or giving kudos to him for the support system. Well, just a little clarity on that, and I concur with you. But a little clarity on that. Let's backtrack a little bit. My now spouse was not my spouse at the time when I battled stage 4 cancer. And it's very important that I speak about that. One of my TikTok videos has the content of what transpired then. So the person that I was with on the journey, one of the biggest reasons I choose to be a health and wellness coach and to be there for others while they fight, he literally pulled to say, hey, I don't have the money for this. And if you have to die during the process of trying to be treated from this, it's sad, but that's just how it has to be. To hear that from somebody that at the time you thought that you were going to be spending the rest of your life with, it's not a joke. And that
We don't,
shows you off the bat that, hey, you're in this by yourself or with
Dr.
just a kid.
Jones, Dr. Jones, I don't want you to just jump past that. You said something to me that really, really stuck. And like, did he actually said that to you?
Yes, he actually said that to me.
Whoa.
He said, Claudia, I am so sorry that this is what you're dealing with and all that kind of stuff. I don't have the money to take care of you. I can't buy the medicine. What me to do? I don't have it. And if you have to die, it's gonna be sad. We don't want that to happen. But if that is, it is just that, because you know what else to do. I don't have it. And for me, I was sweeping past it because I've gotten over it. But I understand from your standpoint, it's a hard pill for anybody to swallow. But again, that's why the reason I'm so adamant about being there for others, because I know I'm firm, I have that drive, the tenacity, the will. But what about those who don't? But one of the things I took from that was the fact that he said it, he came from a place of honesty. It's just that he was just blunt with it. What if that statement was what God allowed? He wasn't the cause of it, but he allowed it to put me at a place where I should be propelled for the next step to reach this place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So God allowed it, and it's for a reason. And to today's date, I'm not upset with him for having said that. What it showed me was that in my weakest moment, when I thought that I had nothing more within me, I had to pull from a reservoir that had run dry. So honestly, there would have been a lot of friction, because if you have a well that runs dry, what happens is that the paint on the inside, the patches, it starts to flake off, right? And peel away. But the interesting thing was that I didn't allow myself to peel away.
Right.
My saliva, kind of dampened those dry cracks where when the water went, which was the spouse then. And he didn't leave the relationship, but mentally he did. He didn't leave physically, but mentally he did when he said those words to me. And so what was my saliva that watered those cracks, though, to make them not flake out and for me to give in to the fight? My saliva would have been my hopeful spirit. Prayer, that's my engine that fuels my drive for anything. My trust in God, my faith, my children. Oh, how I absolutely adore those kids. And I wanted to live for them.
Right.
And for myself as well. So that was what watered that empty place. Yeah. Kind of a well that sprang forth of nowhere. And when he said that, he shouldn't have said it, one would say. But hey, that's what he knew to do. That's all he had within him. And that's why it's important that when we can be a support system for someone that's fighting, we do it. Because
Right.
what if I had just wilt under that pressure? You know what I mean?
Sometimes my mom used to say, if you don't have something good to say, don't say it.
Exactly. Right.
Because
But he didn't
it
say
can
that.
impact the person in a very negative way.
Right.
So so your partner know that he wasn't the one, but he is a big support system after.
Yes, you say my partner now is a big support system after. Let me tell you who my partner now is.
Yeah.
He has really become God's chosen driving force to get this message out to others, because honestly, I kept this story in for some 13, say 12 and a half years thereabout. And I know the Lord used him because it was just after this birthday of this year that he just got up one day and he said, "Babe, I believe that it's time now." And I said, "Time now for what?" And he said, "I believe that God wants you to now go out and tell your story about surviving cancer." When he said it to me, I was already struggling about 2 to 3 weeks before then to get on a platform to speak about the healing, because I realized that it's not just by chance. So many had fallen to cancer, and I really needed to give hope. But as strong as I am, I love and respect my husband, where, I put God first in everything I do, but I'm also sensitive to my husband's need and his needs. And so I thought that because my husband is not, I don't want to say he's an ambivert. He's a little of everything when he's ready. He's so complex, but in a good way. And I just didn't thought that he was a person to embrace something like this. And like you said, kudos to him and so. But when he said it to me, I was like, okay, God, I knew it. Like I knew that this was all God, because I didn't discuss with him that at that point I was struggling with self to come out to say to him, "Babe, I'm going to do this." I was wondering how was he going to feel, because some moments in it they're graphic and all of that, and yeah, that kind of stuff. And my husband is really very, very conservative, and so he fooled me on that one. I never thought that he was a person God would have used to activate this. So yes, he has been the main source. I call him my backbone to my story. So with my now spouse, my husband, he reminds me every day that God will groom us, even in the place where we're not going to stay forever, to make us ready for the table that he's placing us at.
Yeah.
And so I realized that God compensated me with a man that will fit the call after the story. And that's who I find in my husband. He is everything and every person supportive. So he encourages me for the mission. He continues to confirm God's plan for my healing, because he is now, my previous spouse was never the person that can carry the mantle with me for where God has taken me now as a minister of religion and all of that stuff and all that. And it's crazy because my husband, He sports locks, which I love so much. I wouldn't change his image for anything. He wears earrings, and just the image that one might think that this is somebody that doesn't even know God. But I smile hilariously when I think about how solid this man is and how intentional he is about bringing this message of hope to others with my success story being aired. So he is nothing short of a miracle. And I say he's like the missing piece that just locks everything in to say, hey, this is a mandated vision that must be made manifest now. And that's what is happening. So with the food, I forgot to mention to you that clearly this was a part of God's design for me when you say, why taking on that now and so on. My husband is a chef. And he has been a chef for over 20 years. I've been a chef for over 20 years. Look at that combination that God has put in place. And so I'm excited about the vision that's going to even go forward more than just being coaches, but being persons that have a kind of an institutionalized platform where others come and they get plugged into the source where they are unstoppable. They can actually fix the meal they want. They just don't get a good healthy lifestyle plan to overcome this and that kind of stuff, but we can transform their lives in different ways. It's a unique combo. And I love that about what God did. He just gave me the fit for the fiddle, and I am grateful. My husband is supportive. There are times when the aftermath from any sickness there, and I have my lingering moments where sometimes I feel a little weak in my immune system, and not that I don't take nutrients and all of that, but when you have gone to walk through something major, you may have little hiccups here and there. And when I tell you, my husband is that socket. He's that socket where I'm plugged into it. My life is like the extension cord that God uses to plug into that source that He has provided for me, and I am grateful because He is my backbone. He encourages me for this. All of what I'm doing, I am grateful. And I just want to say on the podcast a big thank you to him. He is a lifeline for this thing that God has put out there. And I speak with such passion, and I could go on and on about him because I am just grateful that God has given me a second chance at life where even what the enemy meant for evil and what the previous spouse had said about if I have to die, that God turns it around for my good now, showing me and reminded me that I need to appreciate Mr. Jones every time he puts a foot up to support me, because there's a comparison. Look what happened then versus a man that is set in place to manifest a mission. You know what I mean? Yeah.
What is for you
So
can't be on for you, man.
yeah, yeah, and that's the blessing. And another thing too about my husband, and I wear his name as a badge of honor, like I do, because he could have gone so many other routes, but he knew what he wanted from God, and I just feel blessed. Brian, may I say it? I am
Of
so blessed
course.
because
Of
out of all
course.
others, he chose me.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah, so yes, that's that.
Claudia, your book. If someone wants to purchase your book, how could they purchase their book? And how could they connect with you on a one-to-one level? And how could they follow up your journey? Give us your socials. Give us your contacts, your links.
My social, so I am Instagram. It is sophisticated palette on the score on Instagram. My Facebook platform is Victorious Child / Dr. Claudia Jones. And for my TikTok page, which is my baby, TikTok is my baby. I'm always on TikTok, as you know.
Yeah.
It is Dr. Period Claudia Jones. Dr. Claudia Jones. And I think I could send you the link to that so we can have it posted. And
Mhm.
so that's Dr. Period. So that's Dr. Period Claudia Jones. That's my TikTok platform. And am I missing anyone? And for my email, it's going to be Dr. Period Claudian Jones at gmail.com. So that's going to be Dr. Period Claudian Claudian jones@gmail.com. I can provide you with those so you could stick them to your podcast. And that's how you can get direct contact with me. My book, they're listed for sale on Amazon as well. There's some adjustments that I need to make now. As soon as they're there, they get sold out. But there are a few adjustments that I need to make. And then once they're uploaded, they're ready for restock. Then they will know because they will be there. But the safest way to get through to me in a personable way now is to reach out to me via that email I have just provided.
What one message you want to leave with someone that's struggling with cancer right now?
The one message I'd like to leave with someone that's struggling with cancer right now is that if God brings you to it, He has the ability to take you through it. And if you can just take it one day at a time, your feet will not get tired, your heart will not grow weary, your hope will stand alive because you're given each moment the energy that you have without guilt that you need to pull forward for someone else. Just do it for you. And if God can pull you to it, He can bring you through it. It's not over until you say it's over. So your life is in your hands. You make the decision, and I'm quite sure you will never, ever want to give up on yourself.
Amen. Claudia, on this podcast, we have an opening and a closing tradition.
Yes.
And the closing tradition is where the guests leave an encouraging word for the next guest coming up. And from one cancer survivor to the next, this encouraging word coming from Michelle, who is also a cancer survivor.
Wow.
Her message to you, not knowing who was coming on, was never give up. Cry if you feel like crying. Be angry if you feel like things are not fair. But never give up. Let out these emotions and leave them behind. Your future self is waiting for you so keep pushing through. This too shall pass. Believe in yourself, believe in your faith and your love, and you are worthy of life.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much, Michelle. Ah.
Claudia, thank you for this wonderful podcast. Honestly, it means a lot to me and my listener. I've learned so much. I thank you for this podcast, and I wish you all the best on your journey and continue to spreading the positive words and the positive words of affirmation to your viewers and the wider world. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian. It was indeed a God given, humble pleasure of mine. And I just want to say, for that encouraging word from Michelle, my pet name or alias name, as we call it in Jamaica, is Nashelle. That's so close
Oh,
to my name.
Michelle.
So it means absolutely everything to me. And oh, I really needed that. And I would love if you could let me have that. Could have that, but after the podcast, yes, you could let me have that. And I am so grateful. I want to thank her. And it was my absolute pleasure, Brian. And I want to say, even though I'm going to send you a written one, if those that are listening, if you could help somebody as you travel along, do so, because then your living will never be in vain. And as always, love and light, Dr. Claudia Jones.
Blessings. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of the evening.
You as well.
And to my regular listeners, I just want to say thank you. And if you like this video, you find this video really interesting, please leave your comments and tell me what were your most important part of this podcast. Until next time, stay safe, stay blessed, and eat healthy.